Many years ago, Asian African folklores told under the night stars inspired the young generations to unite and dream bigger. Recently, history was made when the entire African continent united to turn those inspiring stories into reality, reaching beyond the very stars that lit up our tales under the moonlight. On April 20th, 2025, something remarkable happened. The African Space Agency officially opened its doors in bringing together 55 nations and 1.4 billion people under one shared vision, harnessing space technology for Africa's sustainable development. This is beyond rockets and satellites. This is about Africa writing its own chapter in the stars. Stick around, because in this episode, we're going to highlight African Space Agency's journey to launch its strategic goals and why this truly matters for Africans. Hi, I'm Aisha Ndahi. Wannan wuri ma mutane ne. This is Space for Humans. What if an entire continent launched its own space agency? Imagine not just one country reaching for the stars, but all of Africa united. Africa's dream for a continental space agency has been nearly a decade in the making. It all started back in 2016 when African leaders adopted the African Space Policy and Strategy, a framework recognizing that space technology is vital for an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa. By 2017, the African Union approved the African Space Agency Act, laying the legal groundwork and strategic goals for AfSA, the African Space Agency. From developing satellite technologies and space education to forging global partnerships. Fast forward to 2019, Egypt was selected as the agency's headquarters after meeting the necessary political and technical criteria. The push to operationalize AfSA accelerated in 2023. On January 25th of that year, Egypt and the African Union Commission signed an agreement to establish AfSA's headquarters in Egypt's Space City, a 123-acre high-tech campus near Cairo. Egypt's government ratified this commitment, investing in infrastructure and facilities to house the agency. And then came the big moment. On April 20th, 2025, Africa took a historic step forward with the official inauguration of the African Space Agency at its Cairo headquarters, a milestone event capping years of preparations. Dignitaries from across Africa and the global space community attended, emphasizing the continental and global significance of this achievement. With that ribbon cutting, AfSA became fully operational as African Union's Continental Space Agency. It joins an elite group of multinational space institutions alongside Europe's ESA and Latin America's emerging ALSA. But here's what sets AfSA apart from the other space agencies. It's the largest, representing every single African Union member state, comprising 55 countries. That's about 1.4 billion people now united in space exploration. One of the most inspiring aspects of AfSA is how it unites the entire continent. Every region of Africa is on board. The North, the South, the East, West, and Central. From big players with established space programs to smaller nations just starting to explore space technology. Africa's space efforts are now backed by a coalition of nations, united by a shared vision for technological progress and collaborative innovation, each bringing unique expertise to AfSA's mission of empowering the continent through space. So, what does this collaboration look like in practice? It means African countries will share resources, knowledge, and even infrastructure. For example, South Africa could contribute expertise in satellite engineering, Kenya's launch facilities could be used by other countries, and Nigeria could incorporate its space research all under the AfSA's coordination. Countries that previously worked mostly on national projects can now participate in joint missions and benefit from each other's strengths. Ultimately, this Pan-African approach prevents duplication of efforts and ensures even smaller or less wealthy nations get access to the fruits of space technology. It's about African solutions to African problems. Importantly, AfSA also gives Africa a single voice in the global space arena. Instead of 50 separate voices, there is now one African space agency representing the whole continent's interest. This boosts Africa's negotiating power and visibility. Whether it's advocating for fair use of orbital slots, contributing to international guidelines on space debris, or ensuring Africa's needs are considered in multinational projects. AfSA means that Africa has a seat at the table where decisions are being made. Now that AfSA is up and running, what are some of its early projects and partnerships? At the inauguration ceremony, AfSA signed one of its first institutional agreements with the European Space Agency, ESA, focusing on Earth observation initiatives for climate monitoring and natural resource management. AfSA also formalized strategic partnerships with the United Arab Emirates Space Agency, emphasizing small satellite development, technology transfer, and educational exchanges. Meanwhile, a flagship Earth observation initiative already underway is GMES Africa, Global Monitoring for Environment and Security. This program, launched in partnership with the European Union, is focused on building Africa's capacity to use satellite data for climate resilience, disaster response, and environmental monitoring. But here is why AfSA truly matters. It's not about satellites and rockets. It's about possibilities. For the first time, it's about African solutions to African challenges. Born from Ubuntu, the understanding that we rise together. It's about rewriting what is possible so that every child looking up at the night sky across Africa sees opportunity instead of impossibility. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more Space for Humans. Egypt could share its data from its satellites? No? My Nigerian tongue is fighting against it. All right.